So this is Nan Parson. So Nan Parson is the co-founder and chair of Action Ridge, a social justice organization in Park Ridge. Action Ridge's mission statement is: we promote principles of democracy, inclusion, respect, equity, and the health of our planet. Truth matters. If you'd like to be put on Action Ridge's mailing list, Nan has a sign-up sheet. And the sign-up sheet is over there. Please join up. Thank you, Nan.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you to everyone who's here this afternoon, United Against Hate. This is wonderful that people are coming out in response to the hateful messages that were left in our suburbs. I've been involved in social justice my whole adult life. When we adopted our biracial son, I personally saw firsthand, which is, by the way, the name of the series that you can watch on PBS, if I stream it. It's about segregation, and I'm in it, so I'm selling it a bit. I then was really inspired even more because I saw how our son struggled to feel comfortable in his very segregated Park Ridge, in that suburb. But before we start to on the actual rally, I would like to read a land acknowledgement about respecting other minority groups, Native Americans, who are still present in our midst, but long ago were living on this land. So we acknowledge that the land we call Niles and Park Ridge is originally the ancestral homelands of the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and many other tribes, such as the Miami, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Sauk, and Fox, who called and still call this area home. The Chicago region has been a significant location for trade and healing. This acknowledgement serves as a reminder of our placement on these lands and the work we have yet to do for a more just and inclusive community, which includes the nearly 60,000 Native residents of Cook County. A land acknowledgement would be incomplete without action, and this is what I really like about this land acknowledgement. We invite everyone to seek ways to contribute time and money to local Native organizations, and we urge you to get involved in the Native-led effort to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day for all of Cook County. So when these flyers were discovered in Park Ridge and Niles and Glenview, I and my Action Ridge friends were compelled to take action. And I'm so grateful to Cynthia Cater, who's the head of our Human Rights Committee at Action Ridge, and to all the leaders of the Niles Coalition, and to Commissioner Britton for stepping up and making this possible. So I think they deserve a round of applause. So today, as it was mentioned, we are literally going to walk the walk. We're not going to just talk the talk. And we're going to be walking in the neighborhoods where some of the flyers were distributed. In that way, we're going to show that we're taking back our streets. And as was mentioned, that hate has no place here, and that we are spreading love rather than hate. And then we'll be asked, I think you were told to write messages and little art contributions to the poster that's right here. And also please take, if you haven't already, about 20 of the signs that are on the table there and give them out to all your friends and put them in all of your windows so that when people walk by, you know, they will see, even if they don't know what happened here, that ours is a beloved community and we want to make it more so. And so we will be united. If any of these people come again and try to put these flyers in our neighborhoods, they will see that we are not a place where this is going to be tolerated. And we are reclaiming our streets for love instead of hate. Okay?
Thank you so much, Nan. So I'm Elizabeth Lynch. I'm one of the founding members of the Niles Coalition. A few weeks ago, I was one of the people that found anti-Semitic flyers scattered around my neighborhood, this neighborhood. Jews are no strangers to hate. In fact, I grew up in a synagogue founded by Holocaust survivors. My childhood included listening to firsthand accounts of how hate takes power, of how indifference feeds hate, of how eventually it comes for all of us. I grew up being told it was my responsibility to never let it happen again. And yet, when I had that flyer in my hand, when I saw propaganda targeting me and my family, it was the horror of those stories that I remembered, not the call to action. I found myself trying to solve the mystery of the act itself, and I called the police. Was it a community member or someone passing through? Who might have caught the person on video? I looked up information about the group that created the flyer. I speculated about the motivations of its members. I argued with them in my head. I even tried to empathize with them. But this way of thinking is a mistake. We won't find answers by trying to analyze or explain hate. It doesn't matter why any one person makes a flyer or if we catch that one person and put them in jail. The answers aren't online and they don't wear a badge. Because hate is not a criminal, it's a tool. And hate always has and always will have the same purpose, to make us afraid and to divide us. The lesson I should have learned from years in synagogue and Hebrew school and listening to Holocaust survivors is this: solidarity. I'm no political strategist, and I've only recently become an activist. I don't know all the steps we have to take to build a better world. But there is one thing I do know, and I think it's the most important. We need to take those steps together. Some of the people in this crowd will be familiar with Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, a Holocaust survivor and a civil rights activist. He fled to the United States and felt compelled to call out the racism and bigotry against Black people in this country. He understood that he had a duty to show up not just when Jews were the targets, but for all people that are targeted by hate. After walking with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from Selma to Montgomery in 1965, he famously told his daughter that standing alongside people of different races and religions to demand justice was like praying with his feet. Our community needs more of that kind of prayer. Because those flyers were not the first act of hate in our community, and unfortunately they will not be the last. To win this fight, like Rabbi Heschel, we need to pray with our feet and our votes and our voices. We need to show up at protests and board meetings and knock on our neighbors' doors. We need to call out the bigotry and bias even of our friends and allies. We need to join our neighbors in local groups like Action Ridge, Niles Coalition, and Vision Morton Grove. Because we are fighting for justice block by block. We need to be organized. We need to be loud. We need to be uncompromising in our commitment to each other. Thank you. Thank you. So our next speaker grew up in Park Ridge. Kim Schaefer is another member of our community who has been directly impacted by recent events, and I'm so excited to learn from her experience.
As she said, my name is Kim. I'm a Park Ridge homeowner. I grew up in this area, lived here almost my entire life. Recently, there have been attempts by local organizations to remove books pertaining to sexuality, especially books with LGBT themes, from the children and teen sections of the Public Library of Park Ridge. This hits home for me literally and figuratively. I grew up in Park Ridge. We probably went to the same church. You probably saw me lead worship music for the better part of a decade. I may have even been your favorite holiday mass. You knew me from many years as a Starbucks barista at the store on Prospect. Many of you loved me and may not have looked at me the same way if you knew I was gay. I was in complete denial of being gay for so long, and it nearly killed me. Even once I accepted being gay, I lived in that town, closeted, in fear of how others would respond to me. How could I not, because of the messages I was seeing around me? I fought those feelings into young adulthood, alongside feelings of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. I am lucky to be here. I am lucky to be able to live out and proud with my wife. I am thankful I was able to check out books from the Park Ridge Public Library that made me feel not alone and not like a freak. I'm also thankful today to see the support of people here in our community who will no longer quietly tolerate othering, discrimination, and hate. As I walk around our community and see literal signs of support, I can't help but wonder what it would have felt like to grow up now. And while I'm frankly scared of the legislation that's being passed around our country and the local movements that are organizing even here, I feel happier knowing that more of our youth and our community have more love and acceptance than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next speaker is Jill Manrique. She was elected to the District 219 School Board in 2019. She is also a longtime activist and organizer, but right now her focus is on organizing unprotected workers and communities around occupational safety and health. She's also a mom of 3, just trying to make it work.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to start off just explaining a little bit about who I am so you understand the lens which I'm coming from. I am an anti-capitalist. I'm an abolitionist. I'm a lesbian. I'm Mexican. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful babies. I'm also Jewish. And I am a proud activist for the freedom of Palestinians. The last few years, basically since 2019 when I was elected, have been intensely uncomfortable for me. I've had to figure out who I am. And not just figure out who I am as a mother and as a politician or elected official, but as a human being. It's a real ride trying to find yourself, especially when you're trying to find yourself under the public eye. I've been publicly outed, I've been threatened, and it's the craziest thing to grow up in a place like I did, which is Norwood Park. So I grew up really close to here. I played softball right there. I played softball at Brooks Park. I swam in the Niles pool. I got ice cream and dated boys that worked at the Overweiss on Park Ridge. I grew up oppressed, which I didn't even realize until I was in my late 30s. Growing up amongst a very heteronormative, extremely white community, didn't really feel it so hard that I knew of at the time. But now looking back, I can see all of the microaggressions and the macroaggressions that children who don't know that they're gay or haven't really figured it out, what they feel. And being the only kid on my block and in my community that in the summer turned a beautiful, beautiful dark brown. But being the only one and having that pointed out every summer was really hard. So every day, I have to wake up and work extremely hard to dismantle all of the known and unknown oppressive messages that have been indoctrinated into me since birth, and that have been indoctrinated into me because of the fact that I grew up here, and because of the fact that I went through our school systems. Every day, I have to work hard to break those up. So that makes me think about rallies like this one and think about what's comfortable versus what's uncomfortable. In the grand scheme of things, this is an intensely comfortable spot to be in. We're all like-minded people standing here talking about something that's really not that scary, about love and loving each other and being united. For years, being a school board member was really comfortable. It was a place where you could have a position of power and be able to hide behind the policies and the procedures given to you by the Illinois Association of School Boards. You don't have that much power, you can't do that much, but you can get this elected position, hold some power, and hide behind those rules. So you can tell community members, well, I know that that's not great, but there's really not much I can do about it. But that's just not the case anymore. Because we know things now. We've been through a pandemic. We've seen what our black and brown siblings are going through. We can't unsee it. So no longer can I be, would I ever be, a board member that just sits there and takes it. Every day that I have a board meeting, I have to walk in knowing that there's a lot to do, and there are people that are hurting, and the majority of people on my board don't want to do anything about it. The majority of the people on other boards don't want to do anything about it. But you're all here today, and now you know that, if you didn't know it before, and so we need you to show up and make sure that they know that it's no longer okay to hide behind, there's not much I can do about that. We have to push together to dismantle all of the policies and all of the procedures that have been put in place to fuel hatred and to fuel the oppression of the historically oppressed around us. We all have that responsibility. You've now heard it. I know you can because this works. It's a really good sound system. So now I know you've heard it. So you can't sit quietly and comfortably and allow those things to continue. I'll often hear people say, look for the helpers in times of crisis. If this isn't a time of crisis, I don't know what is. After what just happened in the grocery store in Buffalo, after what just happened in Evanston at Haven. I don't know if you all know about that, but there was 3 nooses left in a bush, or on a tree, was it a tree maybe? In between 2 schools. Purposefully done. It's not an accident, that's purposefully done. Anti-Semitic flyers passed around your neighborhoods. It's purposefully done. So you are the helpers. What I also would like you to look for the people that have trauma in their eyes. Look for the people that are tired. Look for the people that are intensely uncomfortable, but show up anyway. These are actually unironically or ironically my people. I'm really uncomfortable standing up here talking about this with you, but that's what we have to do. We have to be uncomfortable. We have to be uncomfortable in order to work through these systems of oppression. The more comfortable you are, the less change that's happening. The people I work with on a daily basis, like Dave, like Maggie, every day they are doing everything that they can to stay uncomfortable, to push the limit, and to break down systems of oppression in Niles Township schools and Niles Township in general. Activism isn't about selfies, it's not about signs, it's not about rallies, it's not about being in comfortable spots. It's about getting uncomfortable. That's what activism is. Which leads me to my asks of you. For the sake of us who have been uncomfortable our entire lives, and are uncomfortable in the majority of spaces that we enter, especially living up here. What I need you to do is resolve yourself with being uncomfortable. A lot. I need you to get uncomfortable in big ways and in small ways. I need you to make your elected officials very uncomfortable. Because blue, no matter who, is an incredibly dangerous thing to live by. We can see it happening right now. Electeds can and do wrong by the people that they are supposed to serve constantly. They are constantly forgetting that we are their bosses, not the other way around. If they won't take a meeting with you, you show up constantly. If they're doing something egregiously wrong, show up. Show up wherever they are. Make them incredibly uncomfortable. Because without your support, without the people, they don't get to be an elected person. And if they're doing wrong by us, they especially don't get to be an elected person. So make them uncomfortable. Keep reading, keep listening. Never ever stop unlearning the oppressive lessons that you've been indoctrinated with since birth. And because no one can be comfortable until our Black and brown siblings, our Jewish siblings, our Palestinian siblings, our LGBTQ siblings, and our other siblings are comfortable, I need you again, every day, to wake up and dismantle that little voice inside your head that says, why am I thinking this way? Why am I not taking this person seriously? Why did I stop listening just because this person looks this way or talks this way? So please, go for it. Please do that every day. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much, Jill. So we have one more speaker, and we are also going to be taking a pledge together, a pledge to continue this action from today into tomorrow and the next day and the next day until we have the better world that we deserve. Commissioner Britton, please come up. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I represent a very small part of Niles Township. My bad. I wish it was more. But it's so heartening to see everybody here today and to commit, as we have done, to unite against hate. It was early March, and I was going to get my Sunday paper, and I went in on my driveway, and I saw a bag laying on my concrete filled with rice and some papers inside of it. And I'm like, what in the world is this? So I pick it up and I look at it, and it is the most vile, hateful, anti-Semitic literature I have ever seen. And I'm a history major from college and studied the Holocaust actively, and I was shocked. And I also thought, I'm a Catholic. I don't know what this stuff is all about, so I investigated. And then I reached out. I reached out to people who understand what this type of hate really means. My good friend Allison Pierce-Slovan, who is here from the Simon Wiesenthal Center, and other people that I've talked to at the ADL and other groups, informed me that this is not just in the northern suburbs, it's throughout the country, and that this type of hate is still being spewed in a regular manner. And it was very disturbing to me that we are still experiencing this in the 21st century, something that should have ended 60, 70 years ago. So I thought to myself, I got two options here. I'm a politician. I can do things within my elected role, but I wasn't sure exactly what I'm supposed to do. So again, I talked to people like Allison to find out. Should I ignore this? Should I not give it oxygen? Or should I call it out? And should I do something affirmative to try and stop it? I found out that the second part is what we're supposed to do, which is why we're all here today. And that's why we have begun to not only work on resolution against anti-Semitism at the county board, which we just did. I had a rabbi give our invocation at the county board meeting this past week, which we haven't done since I've been a commissioner. And then we've been reaching out to all of the groups that we can to try to make a difference, particularly on this particular issue. But then, as we all saw and as Jill referenced yesterday, again, gun violence. We have a racist who has bought into what is unfortunately a pretty common philosophy within our country, featured on one prominent TV station on a regular basis. And those are the things that we have to continually strive against. And these heinous crimes are going to continue unless we do something about them. And I was struck by Rabbi Cohen, who gave the invocation this week, mentioned from Leviticus that anything that can be broken can be fixed. I think in our faith traditions, Muslim and Christian and Jewish, we all know that is why we are activists. That is why we do things. That's why Kim speaks. That's why Jill speaks and Liz. It's all because we have to do something together. So we started the Cook County United Against Hate organization so we can go countywide with what has already been done by Action Ridge and by the Niles Coalition, but we're rolling it out everywhere throughout Cook County, 5.2 million people. And let's not keep it amongst ourselves. Let's try and roll it out throughout the country. That's what we're looking to do and to focus on. So I'm very, very pleased. I see a lot of friendly faces here today who I know who are part of the community that we're going to be calling this out, no matter what our faith tradition is. And that's why I'm going to ask you for one thing today, other than to think about the issues that have been discussed by the other speakers. But one part of this that we're trying to focus on is a pledge that we hope you will all take with me, if you'll bear with me. Oh, it's even printed in large print, so I don't have to use my glasses. So if you would, please repeat after me.
Can I make sure everybody has a copy of the pledge?
Do you have the pledge? I'm gonna cut it into small pieces. You'll be able to memorize it.
Okay.
All right. So repeat after me, please. I pledge
I pledge
to unite against hate.
To unite against hate.
I pledge
I pledge
to welcome all people,
to welcome all people,
regardless of their background or identity.
regardless of their background or identity.
I pledge to support
I pledge to support
tolerance and justice.
tolerance and justice.
These should not be complicated issues, and yet we are dealing with it every day, and in some ways, in a deadly manner. It makes me think that those of us who are elected officials have a responsibility to call this out, to unite against hate. This is not just a slogan, it's a way of life that we need to roll out for everyone we can to end this once and for all. The bigotry, the anti-LGBTQ actions that have been taken throughout the country, and particularly the anti-Semitism, which is particularly odious, considering the history of the Jewish people in our community and around the world. So thank you again for being here. I so much appreciate that you've stood up for all those who are our brothers and sisters, and that we will continue to unite against hate from here and forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you again to Commissioner Britton for being such a strong partner and for speaking out on this issue. Meant a lot to me, meant a lot to the Niles Coalition, and to our community. Thank you again. So we are moving into praying with our feet. This is the time, right? I am inviting all of you to join us as we take a walk about a mile long, about 30 minutes, around the area in Niles and Park Ridge where anti-Semitic flyers were dispersed across lawns, so that we can reclaim our streets for us and for love, and for the diverse community, the better world that we all deserve, and unite against hate. Leading us is going to be another Niles Coalition organizer, Pam, on her bike. We are going to keep a nice slow pace so that we don't have to sweat too much. But we do hope that as we take that walk, that people will talk to each other and learn from each other, and get a chance to speak with some of their elected representatives, Commissioner Britton, Michael Rabbitt, who is running for office right now, and learn from your neighbors, learn from their experiences, and hopefully from those networks, we can build strength in our community. I just really, I'm a little emotional right now looking out at this crowd and seeing people showing up for me and showing up for the community. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go take a walk. Thank you.
Big